hear me now? Can you hear me now? I've already had to change my earrings this morning. I don't know if you noticed, I had a costume change because they're a little too large for the microphone. If these ones are banging against it and making irritating noise, just start pulling faces at me and I will remove these as well. I am quite clumsy. I make lots of awful decisions, and this week I made probably one of the most embarrassing decisions I have ever made. As you can see, I'm wearing a pair of sliders this morning. We've sat up here for those at the back who can't see. This is a slider. Mine are leopard print because leopard print's my favourite. And lots of you might be thinking, oh wow, she's cool. Wow, she's wearing sliders and it's raining. Wow, she must be amazing. No, let me tell you why I'm wearing sliders this morning. I only own one pair of trainers, and they're the kind of trainers that have this bubble in the bottom. I don't know if you've seen them, kind of like this cool, like see-through bit at the bottom. And mine have popped. I've had them for a year, and over time they've got a hole in them, and they're both a bit flat. It was my birthday on Wednesday, and I went over to my friend Andy's house, and I was telling Andy about my trainers, and he said, oh, I can help you with trainers. My wife, Hannah, her trainers also popped, and we filled them with silicone. Some of you can see where this is going already. I can fill your trainers with silicone, and then they'll be re-inflated, and you can wear them again. Might be a bit heavier, but they won't kind of be squidgy anymore. Brilliant. So we go through this whole rigmarole of like poking a hole, and he's an engineer, so he knows all this clever stuff, and he's like putting holes in different places so the air can escape, and all sorts of strange things. And he's like jamming this silicone into it, and he finishes, and there's a little bit of silicone oozing out of the sides, and he says, don't worry, it's just where the air is being released, science. And he says, take them home, leave them for a couple of days, maybe 3 or 4 days, and the silicone will set and they'll be fine to wear. Great, I took them home. The next morning I wake up, it's Thursday and it's chucking it with rain, and I have to get down to a school called Maria Fidelis because I've got a meeting with the head teacher about all of the work that we're doing at school this year. And I think, it's raining, I've only got one pair of trainers. I take them out and I look at them and I just give them a little squash, and I'm like, they feel pretty firm to me. They'll be fine. So I put them on. And I left my house and I was like, yeah, I think they're alright, I think they're okay. And then I check the time, oh, my bus is in 30 seconds. Classic Rosie. So I start running. I run for the bus and I hear this noise. And all of the silicone came shooting out the sides of both of my trainers. And it was grey silicone, and it was raining, and it was everywhere. And because it's like this rubbery stuff, it was like stuck to the shoe, stuck to the floor, and I was like, well, I mean, it's my kind of like, what do you call it? My like ego, or it's being like, I have to get to this meeting with this teacher. So I was like, fine. I just ran for the bus. So I was running with silicone flying everywhere. And I got close to the bus and I tried to shake it off, and I got on the bus. And I was sat on the bus and I could see it just like these little like grey worms just oozing out the side of my trainers. It was on my bag. I sat on the bus and I put my bag over my feet so no one could see what was going on. Because I thought they're going to think this crazy woman, her trainers are oozing weird grey stuff. And I got to school, tried to avoid making eye contact with anyone until I reached school. By this point, it was on my hands because I tried to get it off. I had no tissues. I was wearing grey leggings and I just was wiping it off my leggings. Honestly, it was one of the most foul moments of my entire life. Not my highest point. I got to school. They've got these magical electric doors, and then these double window doors, and they open, and I take one step in, I just whip my trainers off, and I put them in a plastic bag. Thank you, Jesus, I happen to have a plastic bag in my bag. And I put them on, and I had to go and meet this teacher with no shoes on. And I was like, just as he came through the door, and he's like fully suited with like fresh, shiny shoes. I was like, hi sir, I'm here for a meeting. I need you to know I'm not wearing shoes. And he was like, I can see. And I was like, I'm very sorry, I will explain, it's a long story. So, trust me, you're much better off with me not having shoes on right now. Luckily for me, he is a wonderful man, and he laughed and he said, it's happened to us all. And I was like, I'm not sure it has this time, but that's fine. And so on we went. And what this is just another sign of for me in my life is just how impatient I am. Oh my goodness, I promise you, you could not find someone who is more impatient than me. And this is a thread that runs throughout my whole life. Whether it's, I don't want to waste any time waiting for a bus, so I will leave my house at the last possible moment so I can run there and not waste any time standing at a bus stop, wasting my time. I will not wait more than 24 hours to wear a pair of shoes filled with wet silicone. These things, this is just part of who I am. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a guy called Zacchaeus today, who's also a little bit of an impatient man. But before we do that, I am going to ask someone if they might come and read for me. So we're going to be looking at Luke 19. Anyone a keen reader? Would anyone like to come and read Luke 19 for me? Anyone? Top points if you brought your own Bible. Jesus loves that. Anyone? Come on, I know you like reading. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to pick on Chris. Chris, will you come and read for me? Would you like me to know what I've picked, Chris? Chris and Anna managed to miss my game. Chris and Anna Holsworth are two of my very special mentors. They are youth workers. Chris said, but I'm not a youth worker. You are, you're both youth workers. Anna has been a volunteer mentor with XLP for 3 years, I think. Is it 3 or is it 4? It's a long time. And Chris, how long have you been a volunteer mentor for? Yeah. So we're so grateful for all that you do, and you should have been shamed in that game as well. So instead, Zacchaeus, it's really tiny writing. 19 up to the end of the bit here. So.
Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was so short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today's salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost."
Thank you very much. Collecting microphones, Chrissy, can I give you see it? This is a fabulous story. I don't know, but just give me a show of hands. Who has never, ever heard the story of Zacchaeus and the tree? Great, amazing. I'm really sorry if you actually have not heard it, you're too embarrassed to put your hand up. Zacchaeus is this guy, and he is a tax collector, which means that he generally is hated by most people. In the day when this was written, if you were a tax collector, you were in charge of collecting money for Caesar, but you basically could add on anything on top of that you wanted for yourself. So these were people who were just daylight robbers. They would take whatever they wanted for people, and they could demand it, and they had no accountability for it at all. This guy Zacchaeus sees that Jesus is coming, and he is like, I have to get the best seat in the house. I'm not standing behind no tall people. I'm not standing so that he can have the best seat. He was that kind of guy. And as soon as Jesus sees Zacchaeus up in the tree, Jesus says, "I want to come to your house for tea," and the crowd literally groans. And you know, like, there are some times when, like, maybe you're watching TV and that person, that presenter that you really don't like, or that character from TV comes on, you're like, ugh. You should imagine that, like, a whole crowd of people, like, Jesus is there and he's a big deal, and he picks Zacchaeus, that idiot who thought so much of himself that he'd climb a tree so he could get the best seat, and Jesus picked him and said, "I want to come to your house." And the crowd groans. I bet there were loads of people in that crowd that thought, "I wore my best outfit today. I came half an hour early so I could get a seat in the front row, but he's not noticed me and he's not picked me." So I guess what I would glean from this story is Zacchaeus is quite a self-centered guy, desperate and impatient. Don't know whether I'd climb a tree because I'm pretty scared, but I would be pretty impatient to see Jesus. So I've got a little bit of sympathy for Zacchaeus here. But I also wonder whether he climbed that tree so that he could be far away from the people. Because if he was unliked by people, if he was unloved by people, if people didn't get him, didn't understand him, why would you want to be in the middle of a crowd of all those scary people? Actually, maybe there was something about fear in him climbing that tree to get away. Maybe you came here on a tube this morning. If you imagine yourself sat on a tube and say there's 20, 25 people on that tube, I bet you could find one thing in common with each of those people. Because in humanity, whether you're a Christian or not, whether you believe this or not, I believe that we are all connected by the fact that we're human. Will you take this for me? Hold on to it. And so, whether we know it or not, whether it's someone that we've known for 2 minutes, 5 days, we have a connection with people. And this is what makes us human. Do you like how I made this look like a jar of strawberry lace, by the way? Yeah. I'm struggling a little bit. Thanks very much. We have something that ties us together that means that whether we know people or not, we are connected because of our humanity. And so if you imagine yourself on a tube, maybe you have got the same colour hair as someone. Maybe you might have children, and so does someone else. There's something that connects us together. And this is because we're not built to be alone. It's not right for us to be alone. It's right for us to be connected together. One more is fine. That's okay. That's all right. When you grab your own for me. Nice little bit of symbolism. Grab that for me. So we are connected to people like this, okay? And when we do wrong to someone, when we hurt them, when we do something that's bad, we cut the tie. And we have broken a relationship with that person. Maybe you're rude to them and they didn't need it. Maybe you stole money from them. And can you imagine what it must have felt like to be Zacchaeus? How lonely to be Zacchaeus, who probably went around cutting all his ties with all the people that he knew because, well, why? Why would he do that? I work for XLP, which is a youth charity based all over London, as Kristen was saying. We work in schools, we work in communities, and we want to work with young people who have cut all of their connections. So many of the young people that we work with are just like Zacchaeus. They are hated by society, they're only kind of interested in serving themselves, and they will cut as many ties as they can. And I bet when someone like them steps onto your tube carriage, you might groan like that crowd. Maybe you see someone, maybe you just think, oh, actually, they're so annoying. Or like, oh, they brought their friends, they're eating their noisy food, they're playing their loud music. Like, I remember that time that like someone stole from me, that thing where they were rude to me and I was trying to be nice, I held the door. They sat in the priority seat on the train and there was a pregnant lady. These things, like, and even if it doesn't directly affect us, we think, oh, that tie's been cut because you've offended me. You know people in your communities who have died at the hands of young people. There's another tie that's cut. Maybe you're suspicious of them, maybe you're fearful of them. And these are the kind of young people who would run ahead and climb a tree to get the best view and to be far away from the people at the same time. And I bet you there's a lot of people that would say they probably have nothing in common with Zacchaeus. They probably thought, I don't even know why you'd mention him in the same sentence as me. I've got nothing, I would not like to relate to him at all. He cut the tie first, he offended me, I didn't step away, he did something to me and he cut it, it's his fault. And again, we have this parallel with the young people that we're working with who are cutting their ties because they don't know how else to manage positive relationships and they're pushing themselves away from us. And we can have an attitude that says, well, they chose to do that. They chose to do that, they stepped away, they made their bed, now they have to lie in it. Or we can choose to be people who step into the gap. I know that for a lot of people, maybe people in this room as well, you will actually have felt maybe violated by young people. Maybe something has happened in your community that does make you want to turn away from them. Maybe you don't trust them. Maybe if you see them in their hoods, in a group, in the dark, you would walk on the other side of the road, you would take a different journey, so that you didn't have to feel fear. And I'm not going to pretend that they're angels, because they're not. They're really not. I work with them. I know that they're not well behaved. But I can see them wherever they're going in life. They're frantically slicing at any communication line, any connection line they have with people, for fear that it might actually be something that is good for them. If they can cut this tie before someone cuts it for them, then they're in a better position. Then they can feel like they have the power, that they can feel strong. But all they're left with is cut ties. These are young people who have been abused and forgotten. They've been neglected. They've had their friends murdered. They've known friends who have been murderers. These are people who are vulnerable, and they've been taken advantage of. They don't know how to cherish these ties. They don't know how to look after them, because they've not been born into a place that teaches them how to look after these ties. They don't know how to cherish them. I've worked with hundreds of young people, and since joining XLP, the number of young people who have actively rejected my work has skyrocketed. I have young people. I had a girl who, the first time I ever went to meet her, she saw me, she literally screamed, "Go away, I don't want to see you," and ran in the opposite direction. I've had young people hide when they see me. I've had eggs thrown at me during projects. I had my bank card stolen when I was trying to play games with a kid, and I gave someone a piggy bank and we were having a race, and someone took that opportunity to steal my bank card. But it's not their fault. It is their fault. They're making those actions. I understand they're making those actions. But these are young people who don't understand how to be loved, because they've never been loved properly in the first place. And they don't even realise that they're pushing us away with their actions, but they're trying to protect themselves. And they don't want us to love them, because I don't think that they would know what to do with that love if they had it, because they've never seen what real love and true love kind of looks like. And it's a bit too much. They can't really handle it. But XLP are not the only answer to this kind of scenario. We all play a part in this story, because I might be able to connect one tie back with a young person through working with them, through listening with them, through giving them an opportunity to see the things that they've done and maybe make amends or work towards a better future. But that's only one. And how many ties do these young people have with people all over the place, people they've never even met? So we're like that crowd. We can choose to grow when Jesus takes note of Zacchaeus. We can be the people that go, "Oh, of course he'd notice him. What about me? I came in my Sunday best." Or we could be people who celebrate with Zacchaeus that Jesus has chosen him. We have an opportunity and a responsibility to help young people reconnect and to tie back these ties, to feel loved and to love again. To invite them into a relationship that has no agenda, just like Jesus invited himself into Zacchaeus' life. Jesus didn't give Zacchaeus a pep talk. He didn't invite him along to a 6-week course. He didn't say, "I think you should join this club." He just called Zacchaeus by name so that he knew that he was worthy of knowing. In response to that, Zacchaeus changed his life around. Jesus didn't ask him to, but it was through knowing him, through being known, through knowing that he was valuable, that Zacchaeus changed his life. He wanted to apologise and repair the brokenness. He wanted to retie cords with people. He wanted to say sorry. He wanted to give people their money back. But not because he was forced, but because someone showed him value and respect. Jesus loved Zacchaeus where he was. He didn't say, "Zacchaeus, once you give them money back, then we'll have tea together." He didn't say, "Zacchaeus, when you've said sorry to the people that you've hurt, then you can come to me and we can have tea together." Jesus said, "I want to have tea with you right now, and we'll work on the rest later." We love because he first loved us. God reached down into the slimy pit, the mud and the mire, and he lifted us out and he set us on a rock. And we must do likewise for the people around us, people who don't know that they're even lost, maybe. Young people who are not aware of what's going on. How can they love if we don't show them what love looks like? We must feel compelled to welcome these wonky and broken young people into our lives without an agenda. And it will hurt, and it is really, really, really messy. And anyone who's worked with young people, whether they're from the kind of backgrounds that, of the young people that we're working with or not, being a teenager is really hard. It's really hard. I don't know if you've ever been a teenager before, but it's not an easy ride. And can you imagine how much more difficult it must be if you have got brokenness in your home, or things that don't make sense, or things that are happening out of your control? And what would it feel like to know that you are embraced by someone who doesn't ask anything of you other than welcomes you as you are? I think that there's something in that about us teaching young people how to tie these knots. And I don't know if you remember ever learning to tie your shoelaces. Some of you who might still be wearing Velcro, I know you've never learned. But some of us, when you learn to tie your shoelaces, it's really stressful. I don't know if you remember, but it's a long time ago for me, maybe longer for some of you. But I can remember literally throwing tantrums and being in my head, I can see what it's supposed to look like, but my fingers are not doing the right thing. I don't know, like nod if you can relate, like, do you remember this? Yeah, and it's hard, and you get really stressed, and you really took your shoe off and threw it, or tucked them in the side and said, I don't need laces anyway. And think about like the young people who we're working with. We want them to learn how to tie their own shoelaces. We want them to learn how to tie these back for themselves. But it takes time, and we have to show them what it looks like, and we have to help them and do it with them, and they're not going to learn it in 1 second. But we can walk alongside young people and teach them how to reconnect with humanity, how to trust people, how to trust each other, how to trust adults. We do that through showing them ourselves what that looks like. There's a guy called Bob Goff. I bought some books actually that I really want to recommend to you. And this book is one of the best books I've ever read. If you're a reader, it's a guy called Bob Goff. He's an American. He also has written a Bible study and a couple of other books. And he is this man that is full of joy. And he writes this story in his book of a boy that he knows called Lex. And by the time that Lex was 10, he was completely blind. But Lex wanted to do something. He really wanted to do something. So he practiced a bunch of things. And what he worked out was that he could run really fast. Quite dangerous for a blind boy. But what Lex had was Lex had a friend. And so Lex would run track at school, and his friend would run in front of him and call his name, so that Lex knew what direction to run in. And Lex did really well at this, and then he got to college, and he was like, I want to do something else, And so he decided to take up long jump. That's terrifying. Can you imagine? Blindly running a narrow path onto a board you can't see to jump as high as you can. But Lex's friend was there, and he stood at the side of the sandpit, and he called Lex's name, so he knew where to go. God has already given us all that we need to support the people around us. Sometimes we don't know what those things are until we ask for them. But God has equipped us already for the task in hand. My pastor used to say that God doesn't call the equipped. He doesn't wait for us to get ready and then call us. He equips the called. If he has called us to do things, if he has called us to love people and to be Jesus to people, then he equips us already for it. We just have to find it. We just have to build that courage to find that skill set. But it's already in us. And we are called by Jesus to step into the gap and to call Zacchaeus' name, to invite him round for tea. And the story isn't about being the main character. In the story of Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus is the main character. In the story of Lex, the blind boy, Lex is the main character. His friend isn't. He's just the unnamed friend. And I think that Jesus calls us into a place of being the unnamed friend. It's not about our ego. It's not about us making a big deal of being the answer. We're just called to be the unnamed friend that can call Lex's name so that he can run in the dark. I've got a video that I'd like you to watch. So if you'd like to get yourselves comfy. This is one of our XLP videos, and this is about a boy that we know personally called Uche, who Matt actually has done some work with as well. But this is a brilliant video, so prepare yourselves and do your best listening.
A lot of the time, we want the same person to experience what you're experiencing. The anger, the pain. It's not good to act on the anger and have revenge. If I've done this to him, he didn't do this to me, And it makes it cycle. If there's an eye for an eye, then the whole world goes blind. I come from a family of 6, me, my mum, dad, and my 3 other siblings. I'm the oldest son. You have to set the examples, but sometimes I don't set the best examples. In 2017, I went to a youth centre day. I arrived at the youth centre with my friend. We were on bikes, but because I didn't have a lot, I just left it inside the youth centre. And we've come out to go home now, and I've seen that my bike's been taken. I've asked people, have you seen my bike? Have you seen my bike? And they've told me it's one particular person. So I went up to him, asked him for my bike, and in that instance, just stabbed me. I just remember him walking off, but me staggering a bit. And my friends came and calling the ambulance for me. I had 4 surgeries. I had one reconnecting my nerve. I had one reconnecting, I think it's my veins. One reconstructing my muscle. Then I have another one just covering the actual injury. When I was in hospital, I was bedbound for 2 weeks, but I stayed there for a whole month. Basically makes you depressed and upset. You just see everyone else outside barefoot doing what they like. I couldn't do that. When I was in that dark place, I was just thinking, if I did the same thing to him, he's going to be in hospital, in trouble with this, someone else. It ends up going back and forth. So I actually need to break the cycle. Experts pulled me through that difficult experience. They helped me realize there's more to life than going to do the same thing but to someone else. Ian was the main person that spoke to me. He spoke to me about revenge and anger, ways to deal with it, and made me feel that there's something more to me. I could do more good than do bad. With the snow camp, they teach me skills. Now I have a qualification as an instructor to teach people how to ski and snowboard. One thing about snowboarding that I like is you make your own path, and that's how life should be. You should make your own journey and enjoy it. I do enjoy helping young kids, especially ones that I can see that are following down the same path that I was. At the end of the day, I don't want to be a statistic. Mentoring them and helping them is kind of my own way of saying thank you to extra people changing me.
Time is running short, so I'm going to skim through this bit really quickly. But I know that some of you will be asking, like, what does it even look like? How do I even help someone retie a tie? How do I... That seems like something that only really specialist people could do. And maybe you're thinking, well done, Rosie, I'll pray for you. And yeah, please do. I'd really like that. Love it if you pray for me, pray for my team. But there are things that you guys can do, actually, and I was trying to think about it, because we can't all do the same thing. If everyone in the world was an excellent youth worker, we'd have just different problems on our hands. And there is stuff that you can do, things that you can consider, and maybe it would be right for you to be a volunteer, and I'd love to chat to you about what it would look like to come and help support our work. Maybe you'd like to give financially. Maybe you'd like to write an encouraging card to someone in my team and remind them that God is really proud of them and what they do, and that what they do is hard, but really necessary. Maybe you'd like to keep praying for us. Let us know that you're praying for us. We love to know that we are covered in prayer when we're out on the projects. Maybe you'd like to be an advocate for us, making sure that people in schools, in communities know that we're here and that we want to help, and there might be people who want to help us in return. I have 2 prayers for the young people, the band to come up in a couple of minutes and play some music for us. And I want you to come and take 2 strings, someone that you think there is a broken tie with. Do you want Do you want to just say to God, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want you to teach me how. I want you to help me do something more. Or maybe you're not sure. Maybe you just want to tie two, put it around your wrist, and just have. These I'm going to put at the front here, and I'd love it if you would come and grab a couple. And while you're doing that, I'm going to read for you these two prayers. This is my second recommendation book. If you've got children, but even if you haven't, this is a book called Thoughts to Make Your Heart Sing. It's the most beautiful children's book I have ever come across, and I don't have children. So, in here are stories and prayers for families. And these are prayers that I long for the young people in Camden to pray for God, that they would know Him. Resting and relying. When you were little, did someone big ever carry you? Did you rest your head on His shoulder, lean your whole weight on Him? Did you rest your head on His shoulder, lean your whole weight on Him? Faith is leaning your whole weight on God. Resting your head on His shoulder. Faith means resting, relying, not on who we are or what we can do or how we feel or what we know. Faith is resting in who God is and what He has done. And He has done everything. My second prayer. Do you know God's phone number? It's Jeremiah 33:3. You can call it any time. His line is never busy. It won't go to voicemail. He will always pick up. In fact, God says He's waiting for your call. He wants you to call because He has wonderful things He wants to tell you. He longs to hear the sound of your voice. Day after day, He is waiting. So call Him. Jeremiah 33:3. He cannot wait to tell you wonderful things. So we're just going to have a couple of moments of quiet now. And if you'd like to come and take two strings and tie them together and ask God, where is it in your life that you could be reconnecting broken ties? Amen.